Good morning and welcome to the show. Glad that you have joined us. Welcome, welcome. Happy 4th of July, Independence Day weekend. Jeff Beals here at your service from NAI NP Dodge Commercial Real Estate Company. We're also brought to you by D&M Roofing, top-notch commercial and residential roofing services throughout Nebraska and western Iowa. Well, without any further ado, it's time to introduce my co-host, a happy little firecracker of a guy, Trenton Magid.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jeff Beals.
How was your week?
It was good. It feels good to be back. I took last week off.
I know we missed you.
We went to Las Vegas just to see how the national scene is doing in this almost post-pandemic environment, and Las Vegas is back, and there's people there.
I haven't been there since before the pandemic, so it seems pretty normal.
Well, I wanted to really get a comparison, so we went in November when it was about.
You wanted to compare it to how it was last month when you went?
It's my duty as a correspondent and co-host of the show in order to go out and see how the national economy is doing through thick and thin. So we went to Key West about a month or two ago, then Vegas, and I kind of liked Vegas in November when it was like 25% capacity. However, I know it's not sustainable. So everyone, when you went on vacation, you took those road trips over the last year, and there weren't lines, and you could get cheap rates on airfare and hotels and everything. It's a wonderful thing, but if you want to go to those attractions, it's not sustainable unless they're at near full capacity.
True that, but I will tell you the one thing I miss about the pandemic was vacation travel. Stephanie and the kids and I, we traveled more as a family during the pandemic than any other time. We did New Orleans, we did Houston, Galveston, we did the beach in Florida and Park City, Utah during the pandemic. And it was because there were no lines. The airfare was practically free. The hotels were like hovering just above free. It was the best travel year we ever had. And now things are getting back to normal. I've got too many crowds to deal with.
I didn't know you were such a bug chaser.
What do you mean?
Well, going after the pandemic, trying to, get the coronavirus.
I didn't get it.
See, you took precautions,
yeah,
ladies
I didn't
and gentlemen.
Get it. Yeah, I wore my mask. I didn't get it.
That's good. That's smart.
We want to encourage people to get out to Nebraska Crossing this weekend because you got this 3-day weekend, and one of the favorite things that people have to do during a 3-day weekend, especially when it's summer and everything's great, is to go shopping. And Nebraska Crossing is one of those places that has so many retailers that are only present there in the entire state. So a lot of those Nebraska Crossing retailers you won't find anywhere else in Nebraska. So that's one of the reasons we love going out there. The other reason that we like it a lot is Fast Cash. It is the first shopping center in the world to have this Fast Cash system where you can get 15% cash back from any retailer, use it at any other retailer, and this fast cash back money never expires. And so very exciting, especially if you want to get more for your dollar. It's way better than a coupon or anything like that. It's way better than a gift certificate.
You don't have to lose it. It's on your phone.
You can't lose it. The only way you lose it is when you spend it.
Well, you can lose your phone, but all that stuff's backed up.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, the phone's just a tool, right? It's just a portal. So get out to Nebraska Crossing, and if you haven't put the Fast Cash app on your phone, you're missing out on a lot of money. Well, let's get into our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. They know mortgages. It remains an absolute circus out there in the home buying world. Lots of competition for houses. If you don't have a pre-approval letter, good luck winning the house battle. So if you're thinking about doing it, if you want to put your toe in the water and think maybe there's a house out there for us, first step, go to Eagle Mortgage, sit down with one of their mortgage brokers, doesn't matter whether you're FHA, VA, or conventional, and talk about getting this pre-approval letter. It's like going into battle with a sword and a shield because people will see that and realize, hey, you're a qualified, legitimate buyer. I can spend some time with you. You can find them in person, 114th and Davenport, or online, eaglemortgagecompany.com.
Well, I think the biggest news of the week from a national perspective, and it relates to Eagle Mortgage and the home buying process, is over the last 4 decades, the biggest drop in lumber prices just occurred over the last couple months.
Thank God.
And I don't know if you notice it at the big hardware stores yet, because they're probably trying to sell the inventory that they paid too much for. But the mills have opened back up. They're back in processing, and the lumber industry as well as steel and all these other industries, if we can just get them to come back to near sustainable prices, it'll really help stop the inflation.
Yeah, the construction costs at both the commercial and residential level are just obnoxious.
It's down like
right
40% or something over the last couple of months, which that's a huge drop, and it just shows you that they had the plants, they had everything, they just needed to fire them back up.
Well, when you shut everything down, there are going to be repercussions for it, and
you got to get a lot of WD-40 to get those things working again.
Amen, bro.
And duct tape.
Construction has started on what we believe is called Project Barron. And Project Barron has never been officially announced, but from what we hear, it's a 270,000 square foot Amazon warehouse in Council Bluffs. This would be 24th Street and Highway 275.
Also known as Veterans Memorial Highway.
Previously known as South Omaha Bridge Road. And this was the site where there was going to be the 100-foot tall cold storage facility that was announced several years ago. Crews installed a massive foundation. Then, for whatever reason, the project didn't happen.
They had to get that out of there, too.
They're doing that right now. I drove by yesterday, and that foundation, it's my understanding, was pretty deep. A hell of a lot of concrete and rebar deep into the ground. So crews are doing that. And like the other Amazon projects that we have witnessed, when they get started, they're serious. Yeah. I mean, you've got graders and scrapers on one part of it. Meanwhile, you have all those machinery pieces that tear up reinforced concrete. Pretty impressive site. So we understand that that'll be a 270,000 square foot distribution center. Now, that is one of four, count them, four Amazon construction projects in the metro area. Of course, the big one is the 2.8 million square foot regional distribution center at highways 370 and 50 in Sarpy County. Then there are two small ones, last mile warehouses. The one at 132nd and Cornhusker Road looks to be about done. And then the other one, and these are both about 150,000 square foot, is at 72nd and State. Last time I was there, about a week ago, it looked like it was getting really close to going vertical. And that site prep thing went incredibly fast.
On the big one at Highway 50 and 370, looks like it's fixing almost to get done. I mean, it's got a lot of work done inside, but yeah.
But I mean, and the speed to which that project has happened. I mean, if for a little bit of perspective, if you've driven by that big 2.8 million square foot warehouse lately, you've noticed, hey, pretty big place. That was started less than a year ago.
Okay, and
they broke ground less than a year ago.
Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Those are four projects in a city, call it almost 1 million people, and what are we, like the 40th or 50th largest city?
Yeah, metro area, we're only like about the 58th or something like that.
Okay. So think about how many Amazon projects are going on around the world and the United States.
Yeah, like how many Amazon buildings are under construction in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex right now? If we've got four, I mean, Dallas has got 568 Amazon warehouses under construction right now.
And when you and your kids are taking 400 pictures of an event or an attraction or something like that, just think how much storage they need in those data centers that are getting built just for those pictures that you're never going to view again.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of data centers, I'm hearing a lot of rumors that there could potentially be a third Google data center coming to the metro area. You got the big one in Council Bluffs.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a little one in Council Bluffs too, so it'd be kind of the fourth one. There's a little one, the original little one on Veterans Memorial Highway in Council Bluffs. Then the 1,000-acre one further east along Interstate 29. Then the about 250, 300-acre one in Sarpy County. Hearing rumblings, there could be another one. So we'll keep our eyes and ears.
Whole nother location.
Yeah, for Google. Yeah, another Google campus in the metro area. We'll keep our eyes and ears open for that, and when it's time to report that, if it happens, we will definitely let you know. So we're hearing also, speaking of rumblings, we've talked in the past about the planned Moxie by Marriott Hotel in the Old Market.
Last 3 or 4 or 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, this was to be built on the site of the Old Market Diner, which was removed a few years ago. Really little footprint. There's going to be about a 6 to 8 story building on
9,000 feet, I remember.
Yeah, just 9,000 feet, which is basically the size of a small, what's a Walgreens, like 10,000 maybe?
No, about 13, about 14.
Okay. So this 6 to 8 story building would be built on a lot size way smaller than a Walgreens. And really cool concept. Moxie is a relatively new Marriott brand that kind of caters to more of an urbane, young professional type crowd. And it had appeared to be kind of dormant or dead, but we're hearing a lot of things from some people that's back on. And then also noticed there was some construction equipment on the site.
That's interesting. And when you brought up Walgreens, one interesting thing that most of our listeners probably aren't aware of, that there's a big push nationally, and I believe they've test marketed it, but Walgreens is looking around in Omaha too for a micro Walgreens. I don't know what they call it, but it's about 2,300 to 2,500 square foot with a drive-through. That it's just drugs. It's prescription drugs, obviously.
Pharmacy only.
Pharmacy only, and you can imagine that's going to compete with all the restaurants that want drive-throughs now. So that'll be interesting.
Someday, lazy Americans will never, ever get out of their car.
Yeah, pretty impressive. They'll put bathrooms in the car.
Buses have them. St. Wenceslas Catholic Church dedicated its new church building a couple days ago at 153rd and Pacific. This was a $30 million project, 60,000 square foot building. And this new church, which is beautiful, it's part of the Heartwood Preserve South development, really close to the new Applied Underwriters headquarters that's under construction. This church building will seat 1,400 congregants.
That makes it the largest church in Nebraska, I believe.
Yeah, for membership. By membership, yeah.
Well, it's God's money, so.
Yeah. And also another thing that was dedicated this week, the Wigton Heritage Center at the University of Nebraska Medical Center officially opened. This is an $8 million project that is designed to memorialize the university's 150-year history. Technically, it hasn't been UNMC for 150 years. It was originally just a small medical school, but it's been around for 150 years. This is a multi-level 13,000 square foot facility. It's attached to the outside of one of the buildings. So the facade of a building is inside this glass area. It looks really cool. And the McGugan Health Sciences Library on the UNMC campus has quite the collection of historical medical artifacts. Those are on display. So I'm actually going to try and find time fairly soon to go check that place out. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Starts like an ancient bottle of whiskey that people had to drink when they were going to get their leg taken off or something like that because of gangrene.
Yeah, medical technology has indeed come a long ways. Well, Berkshire Hathaway announced this week that the Oracle of Omaha has reached a philanthropic milestone. If you were paying attention back in 2006, you may remember that Warren Buffett pledged to distribute all of his Berkshire shares, which at that time equated to 99% of his wealth, all of those shares to philanthropy. And his most recent distribution was $4.1 million on June 23rd.
Billion.
And
Billion or million?
Did I say million?
Yeah.
Okay, meant to say billion. $4.1 billion distribution.
Just a small difference.
June 23rd. Back in 2006, Buffett owned just under 475,000 A shares, which would be about $100 billion. I did it again. $100 billion in value. He's now down to 238,000 and some shares. So all of the rest will eventually be donated.
We're going to do some fund drives for Warren Buffett to help him get through.
Charles Schwab, which acquired TD Ameritrade, is actually adding jobs to Omaha.
Nice.
When that merger was announced, we're like, okay, great. Schwab is buying TD Ameritrade. There goes the headquarters. We'll probably have a lot of jobs. Actually, there are going to be about net 100 more jobs right now than when Schwab first announced the merger a couple of years ago. So the Charles Schwab TD Ameritrade employment in Omaha is inching up towards 2,400 people.
We love that. And apparently, I've heard rumors that they're thinking about taking off that lime green protective coating off that building in Old Mill as a result of the merger.
Where's the punchline?
That's what it's supposed to look like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, what's he setting us up for? Yeah.
No, okay.
It's growing on me. I've always liked that building from day one. I will say
well,
this.
Your notepad, if ladies and gentlemen, if you watch the YouTube version of this, you'll see Jeff Beals' notepad. Can you get that notepad on there?
At any rate,
it matches the mint green TD Ameritrade Schwab building.
I think the north side of the building is more attractive than the south. I like the north side where it was supposed to look like an old stock ticker tape.
Yeah.
I like the north side better than the south.
No, I don't think it's a stock ticker tape. There's things that they inserted into the computers to read the
punch cards.
The punch cards, yeah.
The Kiewit Luminarium, the $101 million science museum under construction right along the Missouri River downtown, is going vertical. If you go by the Lewis and Clark Landing site, which is one of the 3 riverfront parks that are undergoing the $300 million renovation, a lot of steel going up for this Kiewit Luminarium. This is going to be a big building, very, very tall ceiling for its size, 82,000 square feet, going to be a world-class STEM museum, but this place is coming along. In fact, the opening date isn't until 2023, but I'm sitting here wondering, with the progress they're making, if they're going to be early.
That'd be awesome. What I love most about the Illuminarium is that it's going to be interactive, number one, but also it's going to change, and so it'll be ever evolving, so there's reasons to go back.
Yeah, and then since this is kind of part of that park renovation project, Jean Leahy Mall's looking really good.
Wow, the trees that are going in there, the mature trees almost.
And then Brad Williams rented a helicopter this week and was doing a bunch of his aerial photography. And he took a great shot of Heartland of America Park. And you could see where they're really starting to build in what will be the north shoreline of the shrunken lake. The lake will be a lot smaller than it used to be, but the fountain will still be the same size. And those projects are coming along very,
You
very
can see that on our Facebook page, right?
Yes, absolutely. Groma Facebook page. And that is your news of the week, brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Jobbers Canyon and downtown. The World Herald's been running a series lately that has stirred up quite a bit of conversation about preservation and architecture and historical buildings. We're going to talk about that and a few other things. You're listening to Jeff and Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by D&M Roofing and NAI NP Dodge. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals at your service, sitting next to Trenton Magid. We represent NAI NP Dodge Commercial Real Estate. We're also brought to you by D&M Roofing, top-notch residential and commercial roofing contractor. Well, glad that you have joined us. We did want to memorialize someone here this morning. The local real estate community lost a very successful business leader and a good friend in Dave Paladino of Landmark.
Yeah, also known as Dino in Omaha, Landmark. It's Landmark and also Paladino Development, a number of different
Dino Storage,
companies. Dino's, most known for Dino Storage probably, but he probably owned, I don't know, at least 1,500 housing units between apartments and single-family homes. And Dave Paladino is 54, way too young, and what he amassed and accomplished with his wife Lisa and his kids, a really great guy. And Omaha knows him for those messages that you saw at the Dino's self-storage facilities, and it got you thinking. If nothing else, those messages got you thinking. And I was lucky to be able to comment on a World Herald article about the flagpole that he put out on about 210th and Dodge Street, and it's 125 feet tall. And I happened to be on the planning board at that time, but we wish his family the best and give Lisa our thoughts and prayers and his kids but he really changed Omaha skyline and he put a lot of people to work. And so with that, I know a lot of people are thinking about him and his family and way too soon, but rest in peace, Dave Paladino.
Dave died in a small plane crash on Thursday near Lamoni, Iowa.
With his great nephew as well, who's only 15 years old, which is sad as well.
Very tough. So, yeah, like Trent said, our best there. A couple years ago, I was put in charge of some committee for Boy Scouts, and I needed to get business leaders together, and I called a bunch, and one of the first guys to say yes was Dave Paladino. He was helped out with the committee quite a bit. So, like Trenton said, rest in peace. Wanted to speak briefly before I take our middle of the show break. The World Herald did and has been doing a series of articles about Jobbers Canyon. And for those of you who are too young to remember, Jobbers Canyon was kind of the hub of Omaha's historical heritage of being a major distribution center with the railroad.
Fruits and vegetable sales and all kinds
all
of business.
sorts of hardwares and industrial wares. And this was primarily on 9th Street from about Douglas down to maybe Jackson or something like that. And they called it Jobbers Canyon because it was a bunch of 8-story red brick buildings, and the street was red brick, and it looked like a brick canyon. And jobbers were the people that worked warehouses and railroad docks in those days.
When they used to drag pallets, they'd have these, I think it's called a buell or something. They'd have these tools, and these guys with huge muscles would drag these wood pallets across the floors. A lot of those were wood floors. And then you had those big carts with the big steel wheels.
Yeah, those guys put in the real day's work back then. But we tore it down in the late 80s to make way for the Conagra Riverfront campus. And it remains to this day the largest national historical district ever destroyed in United States history, which is sad. And so the debate that this series of articles has sparked was, should we have or should we not have? And I think you can make a very good argument on both sides. The should not, you look, about a year ago, I was in downtown Milwaukee, and they have a warehouse area that was massive. And people talk about how big it was, how cool it was. And I remember thinking, it's Jobbers Canyon. And had we still had it. But then on the other hand, a couple of people who have been quoted in these articles have made some interesting points. They said, all these thousands and thousands of residential units we've added downtown over the years may not have happened if the riverfront looked as seedy as it did in the Jobbers Canyon days.
Well, and it's been 30 years, so it was a heck of a run. And Conagra is still here, not enforced like they were, but at the time, I don't think that the city stakeholders and the city leaders had much of a choice. And if you read those articles, you'll understand. And yeah, it was a big loss, but Kaor, who was the very hardworking and productive governor at the time with Legislative Bill 775 and a lot of other economic incentives, kept Conagra here. And Charles Harper, who was the instigator of most of that whole project, he did it because he loved Omaha, not because he was trying to pull a fast one.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the articles didn't necessarily paint Charles Harper with the best light, but they were a good read. And that debate, should we have or should not we have regarding Jobbers Canyon, will probably rage for many, many, many more years. But we know one thing, you can't undo it. And I will say somewhat ironically, after the northernmost building of the Conagra campus was demolished and we now have new construction going on there, the new construction more closely resembles Jobbers Canyon than it does the Conagra campus. So what's old is new, I guess. But we're going to take our middle of the show break. And when we come back in our real estate development spotlight brought to you by Noddle Companies, we are going to announce a brand new brewery and tap room coming to Exarban Village. And we're going to talk about some other stuff that you don't want to miss. So stay with us. You're listening to Jeff and Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by D&M Roofing and NAI NP Dodge Commercial Real Estate on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals and Trenton Magid here. We are brought to you by D&M Roofing and NAI NP Dodge Commercial Real Estate. Guess what? It's time for the Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight, brought to you by Noddle Companies. Noddle Companies, Omaha-based, but working in multiple states. Big, huge, blockbuster projects. Some of the biggest known Noddle Companies projects in this area would include Exarban Village, Builders District, Steel Ridge, River's Edge. We could go on and on. There are so many of them. But today, we're going to talk about something at Exarban Village. And a lot of people in Omaha are big fans of Kincaider Brewing Company. Kincaider Brewing Company started in Broken Bow, which is in the middle of Nebraska, Custer County. And they eventually expanded because the beer became so popular, and they opened up a tap room in Grand Island, Nebraska, and then Lincoln, Nebraska. Well, pretty soon they will have a tap room in Exarban Village,
The big leagues
here in Omaha. Yeah, they're Kincaider's growing up, and more importantly, Omahans will have access to that because I've had their beer; it's outstanding. So this will be a really nice addition to the village. And if you want to know things like this, definitely check out our Grow Omaha newsletter. We call it the Grow Omaha Weekly Market Report. If you want to see it, all you have to do is go to growomaha.com, click on Market Report. There's a tab in the navigation bar, and then all of the current and past issues of that newsletter are available.
I want to get the Brad Williams seal of approval because he's tried like every microbrew on earth or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I bet Brad likes Kincaider quite a bit, but we'll have him tell us for sure. We can't speak for him. At any rate, that's pretty cool. The other thing we want to bring up, since this is the Noddle Company's commercial real estate development spotlight, Jay Noddle, the CEO of the company, was quoted in an article this week about streetcars. And apparently an Omaha delegation talked to Representative Don Bacon, who represents this area in the House, and tried to get an $8 million earmark for the streetcar line that we refer to as the urban circulator. This would be the 3-mile stretch from the Med Center to downtown, up to North Downtown and back. And unfortunately, we were not able to get this earmark, but that does not necessarily mean the project is dead. In fact, Jay Noddle was quoted in the paper as saying, "We are extremely serious about this. We've never been more serious. It's one of the more important and therefore impactful things that can happen in the core of the city." Jay is the chairman of the Urban Core Committee right now.
A very important job right now.
So the question is, will this happen? I think the economic development benefits from this are well documented. If you look at these streetcar lines around the country, even if the streetcar line itself is not profitable per se, the amount of commercial real estate development that they generate 2 to 3 blocks on either side of the tracks is often off the charts. Certainly that has happened with Kansas City's. They installed a streetcar line that went from downtown just to like a little random area south, didn't even go all the way to the plaza or Westport or anything like that. And it has generated impressive amounts of development.
And the location that they're putting this has already been taking off. So it's not like they have to prove the area or it's degraded, so we have to spur the development. This is just going to accelerate what's already there.
Yeah, so I think it would be, our leaders have to do what they have to do to create it and fund it responsibly. But I do think this is one of those projects where you have to look at the collateral benefits that come from it. It's kind of like looking at, say, the CHI Health Center. And if you look at just what it was going to do in terms of operating profit or something like that, yeah, that's something you have to look at. But you also want to look at a project like that and say, okay, would TD Ameritrade Park have happened without it? Would Gallup have built their corporate operations headquarters without it?
Kiewit.
Would we have the Kiewit Illuminarium there without it? And so you have to look at what some of these big blockbuster projects spark and lead to down the road.
Absolutely, no regrets.
And that is your commercial real estate development spotlight, brought to you by Noddle Companies. If you want to learn more about Noddle Companies, just go to their website. It's noddlecompanies.com, and you can find out about so many of their projects, both in Omaha and in multiple other states as well. We're going to take our final break of the show. And when we come back, it is the lightning round in which Trent and I have a few things on the docket that we want to throw at you, and you don't want to miss any of it. You're listening to Jeff and Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by D&M Roofing and NAI NP Dodge. Back in a moment. News Radio 1110 KFAB. Welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals, Trenton Magid from NAI NP Dodge. We're also brought to you by D&M Roofing. It is time for the lightning round. As always, it is brought to you by our good friends at Turner Construction. You know Turner Construction, big, huge construction company based in New York City that does massive projects like the Sarpy County Data Center in Sarpy County, but they also do little projects as well. Muy pequeño, little projects, right? They do all sorts of projects that are appropriate. Our videographer is laughing at my use of muy pequeño. Did I say it right? Okay. Anyway, Turner does small projects as well, and everything in between. So I think that's important for people to know, because we have a lot of people who listen to the show who make decisions for construction projects. And I think sometimes they think, I couldn't go get a company like Turner to do this. Absolutely not. They do just as good a job on the small projects as they do the world-class projects. And one of the cool things about Turner is when they decided to open their Omaha office, they went right into that Mastercraft building in North Downtown. They made themselves part of the fabric of the community, and they're really doing a good job of it. So thanks, Turner Construction, for bringing us this great content. And speaking of that content, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been quite the sports year here in town. This spring, we had the NCAA Volleyball Final Four. Then we had the College World Series. We had the U.S. Olympic swim trials, which Trenton, you and I and our wives went to one together.
That was a fixture down there.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you for bringing us with you. That was a blast going to those. And then now we have the 2021 U.S. Senior Open for golf. That takes place July 8th through 11th at Omaha Country Club. And I happened to drive around there. I was looking at the Amazon project that was under construction across the street, so I decided to drive over to OCC and a couple days ago and see how the preparation is going for the U.S. Senior Open. Oh, my goodness, the TV trucks and all the tents that are being set up. It looks very, very exciting. I'm not a golf guy, but for all of you who do like golf, wow, how exciting would the U.S. Senior Open be?
We can use all those sports events that we can get.
And they're making temporary parking available on a big grassy area, kind of a little bit north of 72nd and Country Club Drive, which is where they had the parking last time the U.S. Senior Open was here in Omaha. I went to it the last time and walked around and I kept saying lines from Caddyshack.
I think I've been there too. I'm trying to remember, did that one also have those
Tears in his eyes, I guess. Okay, go ahead.
Those temporary skyboxes?
Yeah. It was really fun.
Those are big money.
So at any rate, that's kind of cool. And then the College World Series, like we said, just finished on Wednesday. I went to the Monday night championship game.
Congratulations, Mississippi State.
I met more people from Mississippi than I ever have in my life. Goodness gracious. There had to be all but maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people.
Makes you miss the LSU fans as well.
They were the LSU fans, except they were wearing maroon instead of purple. It was pretty cool to see. Hey, let's talk about restaurants a little bit. That's our favorite topic.
Bring it on.
Jaipur, which has been a fixture in Rockbrook Village since what feels like the beginning of time, is going to expand. They're going to open up a second location, and this one is going to be within spitting distance of the KFAB Penthouse Studio high above Underwood Avenue. They're going to go into the former Kith and Kin Acadian Grill and some other stuff space just a building west of KFAB on Underwood Avenue. Great move on their part.
I think it's a good location for it. And that's one thing about some of these historic districts where you have independent restaurants as opposed to national chains where they can be a lot more adaptable than some of these national prototypes.
I like Jaipur. My son does a lot of baseball work at Strike Zone, which is just across the parking lot from Jaipur. And he did this thing for 4 months, like once a week he had to go do this class. And it was from about Thanksgiving to right when baseball season started in the spring. And I always wanted to drive because what I'd do is I'd drive there, drop the boys off. They never really thought what I was going to do for that hour and a half, but I just walked right over to Jaipur, had an appetizer, had one of their homemade, they make their own beer right there, and that was kind of fun. So, yeah, in fact, it got to the point where I walked in and the bartender just kind of made my favorite beer for me and got my appetizer ready.
And they're like, Dad, where have you been for the last 3 hours?
Yeah, now they're like, what? That guy was our friend, and now he hasn't been here since late March. At any rate, so that's a good move and a nice addition to Dundee. That will kind of, here in Dundee, they got a great restaurant mix, and I think putting Jaipur in there will be a nice little touch. So have you ever been to Tired Texan Barbecue?
I loved, and it had a little fire, I understand, but their banana pudding, I think it was?
I don't know if I've had that.
Is unbelievable. It's a good place.
Yeah, I like them a lot, and they're temporarily closed. Like Trent said, they had a kitchen fire. The owner plans on having it back in operation middle of July. So good luck to them. That's never pleasant to have to deal with that sort of thing. But good product there. Want to congratulate Bozell. The ad agency here in Omaha is celebrating its 100th anniversary. And I kind of find that a little bit ironic because when you think of advertising agencies, you think of young, new, hip, and Bozell employs all sorts of people who are young and fresh.
I remember it was Bozell and Jacobs.
Yeah, Bozell and Jacobs. And if I remember correctly, weren't they two people that had been in the newspaper business and then they branched off and started their own ad agency? I'm almost sure
that I don't know, but I know they're in the Valmont building forever.
And then for a while,
actually, they were in the Blackstone Center, the Blackstone Hotel, now the Cottonwood. They had a big presence down there, and that's when Jim Moore and I refilled the space with California Energy.
Okay, yeah, and there was a period of time where they were Bozell, Jacobs.
Yeah, they probably should have gotten rid of that mumble. Yeah.
Yeah, so eventually they just changed their name
because
to
they are
Bozell.
marketing professionals. They decided that probably didn't meet with what their ideas were.
Got a new chancellor at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Joanne Lee has started. I tell you, UNO and UNMC are, I think, entering their golden era.
Absolutely.
Right now. I mean, both universities are doing so well. They're doing so much together. There's becoming, why didn't that happen years ago, right? To save some of the money and make some of those efficiencies. But yeah, it looks like Chancellor Lee is going to be a really good leader for UNO. And then we've talked probably maybe a little too much over the last year about the big projects coming to UNMC, but I don't think you can even begin to exaggerate the importance of some of the stuff that's going to happen at UNMC on the Omaha economy.
No question about that. When this next project gets going, it'll be huge.
Okay, we've got an Omaha company, Bridgepoint Investment Bank, has relocated its headquarters to the Landmark building downtown at 13th and Farnham Street. And one of the reasons they did this, they had been suburban before, they recruit a lot of professionals from out of state. And they've been successful doing that, but they figured a downtown location would really help them do that. So the Landmark building is the building that we talked about a couple weeks ago that now has the Farnham Hotel, beautiful Farnham Hotel in it, and but they also have office space as well.
Yeah, I've been through it. It's a beautiful space.
And with that, the music is playing, which cues Jeff and Trenton to be quiet for another week. We hope that you have a wonderful, blessed Independence Day holiday weekend. Thanks for being part of us today. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Magid.
You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by D&M Roofing and NAI NP Dodge. We'll chat with you next week at 9, right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.